I told myself I would start tomorrow, and tomorrow came, and I didn't. Not because I couldn't, but because something in me quietly chose not to. That's the part no one sees. The small, invisible betrayals. The way we look at our own reflection and turn away. The way hope becomes a weight instead of a light. You make a promise at night and wake up already tired of breaking it. Not loud, not dramatic, just tired. Tired of trying, tired of failing, tired of being the person who never quite becomes who they meant to be. There is a special kind of shame in knowing what to do and not doing it. It doesn't scream, it whispers, and it follows you everywhere, to work, to bed, to the quiet moments when no one is watching, especially then. But sometimes, something small can interrupt that cycle. Not a miracle, not a transformation, just a tiny shift in the way the day begins. This is where Ethan's story starts. Ethan was 36 years old. He lived in a narrow apartment above a bakery that always smelled like fresh bread, even when he felt stale inside. He worked in IT, a job that kept him sitting, thinking, scrolling, and quietly disappearing. He wasn't unhappy exactly. He was uninhabited, like someone who moved out of his own life and left the lights on. Every January, he bought a notebook. Every January, he wrote goals in neat, hopeful handwriting. And every March, that notebook lived under his bed unopened, like a letter from a person he used to be. He told people he was busy, but really, he was just stuck. Stuck in a loop of wanting more and doing nothing about it. Not because he was lazy, but because every time he tried to change, his mind rebelled. It whispered, "Why bother? You failed before. This is just who you are." The breaking moment came on a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday that doesn't feel important until it does. Ethan was in a video meeting at work, camera on, face visible, and when he saw himself on screen, something collapsed. Not his weight, not his age, his eyes. They looked empty, like someone waiting for permission to exist. After the call, he didn't log back in. He just sat there in a quiet room with a glowing screen, and the life he didn't recognize. He opened the browser tab, not to work, to search for something. He didn't know what. He typed, "Why can't I change?" And somewhere deep in the scrolling, he found a single line from an old Japanese swordsman, Miyamoto Musashi. "You can only fight the way you practice." Ethan didn't know why that line stayed with him, but it did. That night, instead of planning a new life, he did something absurdly small. He put a glass of water on his bedside table. That was it. No new schedule, no motivational speech, just water. The next morning, he drank it, and something strange happened. Nothing. No rush of energy, no sudden clarity, but he had done what he said he would do, and that was new. Musashi believed that strength is not loud. It is quiet repetition, a blade sharpened one stroke at a time. Neuroscience agrees. Your brain doesn't resist change because you are weak. It resists because it is trying to keep you alive. Big changes feel like danger. Small ones feel like nothing, and nothing feels safe. So Ethan kept drinking water. Day 2, day 3, day 7. His mind stopped arguing. It had no reason to. This wasn't a revolution. It was a whisper. A few weeks later, he added one more thing. He would stretch for 1 minute after drinking the water. Not a workout, not a transformation, just movement. He missed days. He forgot. But he always came back. That was when Musashi entered his life in a deeper way. The warrior's path, Musashi wrote, is not perfection. It is return. Return to the stance. Return to the breath. Return to the blade. Identity is built the same way, not by what you promise, but by what you return to. There were weeks Ethan gave up, days when the old numbness came back. But now he had a way home. A glass of water, a minute of movement. Slowly, quietly, he began to trust himself. Months passed. His body changed a little, but his mind changed first. He no longer thought, I need to fix myself. He thought, this is what I do. That was the real shift, not in his habits, but in his identity. Musashi didn't train to win fights. He trained to be someone who wins. The sword was just a mirror. Ethan was finally starting to see himself, not as broken, but as unfinished. Unfinished meant still becoming, still alive, still capable of returning. He began stepping outside each morning, sometimes only for 2 minutes, sometimes a little longer. His brain still tried to sabotage him. It told him this was too small to matter. But small meant safe, and safe meant he kept showing up. Musashi wrote that a blade held too high grows heavy. A blade held low stays steady and cuts clean. Willpower is a trembling arm. Identity is the grip that never lets go. After a month, his body felt less stiff. After 2 months, his breathing felt deeper. After 3 months, something in his chest felt lighter. That change was not physical. It was peace. Then one evening, everything slipped. Ethan came home exhausted and ordered food he promised he would avoid. He ate quickly, mindlessly. The old fog returned. For a moment, he thought he had ruined everything. The old voice said, "You failed again." Musashi had another word for this moment. He called it losing posture, not losing the fight. Ethan still drank his water the next morning. He still stepped outside. That single return kept the story alive. Psychology calls this resilience, but it is really self-forgiveness. Shame freezes the nervous system. Kindness lets it move again. Fear is what dulls the blade. Fear of failing had always stopped him. Now failure was just another step on the path. Weeks turned into months. The routines stitched themselves into his days. He no longer negotiated with himself. They were simply who he was. That is how identity forms, not through effort, through repetition. He added 1 page of reading at night. Sometimes it felt pointless, but it rebuilt his attention. Attention is the doorway back into yourself. As his focus returned, his emotions softened. He noticed when he was tired, when he was lonely, when he was present. Musashi taught that awareness is the root of strength. You cannot defend what you cannot feel. By the 6th month, people noticed something different in him, not his body, his presence. Ethan was no longer trying to be better. He was being someone who cared. Distraction is the true enemy. Presence is the true power. One evening, he caught his reflection in a window. This time, his eyes did not look empty. They looked curious. Curiosity is the first sign of healing. Months passed and the routines no longer required effort. They were as natural as breathing. That is how identity locks in. You stop asking who you are because you're already being it. Ethan did not feel extraordinary. He felt honest. Honesty with yourself is the foundation of lasting change. Musashi never tried to be perfect, only true. Ethan could now look at his reflection without turning away, not because he was finished, but because he was no longer hiding. That is the real transformation, the willingness to be seen by yourself. This is where the story touches you, not because you are broken, but because you're human. Every time you avoid a small promise, you teach your mind that you cannot be trusted. Every time you keep one, you teach it that you are safe. Safety is what allows change to happen. Pick one action so small your mind cannot argue with it. Do it once, then return to it tomorrow. That return is what builds you. You are not behind, you are on the first step. Ethan's life changed because he stopped abandoning himself. That is the way of Musashi. You do not need more motivation. You need a place to return to. Let that place be one small daily act. A breath, a sip of water, a moment of movement. Something that says, I am still here. That is how a new identity is born. Ethan still drinks his water every morning, not because he has to, but because it reminds him who he is. A man who shows up, a man who returns, a man who keeps his word in small ways. That is true strength. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply unshakable. You have that same strength waiting for you inside. It only asks that you meet it halfway, one small promise at a time. The days will pass whether you change or not. The question is who you will become while they do. Ethan became someone who stayed. You can too, not by becoming someone new, but by coming home to yourself. That home is built from the smallest choices. Walk the quiet path. Walk it gently. Keep walking it, because every step is shaping who you are, and who you are is what truly changes everything. You do not need to be fearless. You only need to return. That is the way of mental strength. That is the way of Musashi, and that is the way back to yourself.